Hey guys, Wiregrass Pyro. As you see, we're gonna do another fireworks assortment unboxing. Today we have the Red Apple Fireworks Canna box sampler. We got 12 canister shells, 17 aerials, 5 fountains, and 1 barrage candle in here. Overall, this box is pretty big. We're just gonna do a really quick rundown of the outside of it. It is considered an extra large. We do have 35 fuses in here to light. Total of 467 shots in this assortment. Got about 40 minutes of duration. We have aerials and grounds with all straight up vertical angles, and this is Red Apple's in-house Ganja brand. Let's go ahead, check some of the stuff out that's on the back and the side. All right, we got this thing flipped over. As you see, this is packaged as a 1-1 with a gross weight of 22 kilograms, so it's about 45 pounds. And as a single assortment, this definitely outweighs that Z BQ box that we did last time. But looking in here, we have the colors and effects. We got blue and pink, green, purple, gold, silver, neon red, sky blue, neon yellow, white, and orange. This down here is our actual effects right here. This is our quick overview of what's inside. We're not going to cover that just because we're going to actually open this thing up and get a look at everything in here. Let's go ahead, crack this thing open. All right, we have this thing cracked open. Let's go ahead. We're going to start from the top and try and work our way down. This thing is actually extremely long, so it's a little hard for me to actually reach up here and get all of this. But we're going to jump into kind of what we have up here at the top. That being the smaller bud snaps. These are just going to be that. They're going to be the little ground snaps, little poppets. You just throw them on the ground. They make some noises. We've seen these a million times. Let's move on. After that, we have an extremely light fountain called Hibiscus Sunrise. Very, very light. Unfortunately, does not look like we are going to get any performance descriptions on this one at all. But with it being light, this is probably going to be 10 to 15 seconds at most, because I cannot stress this enough. This is incredibly light. It weighs next to nothing. Up next, we have a slightly heavier fountain. This is the Sunshine Daydream. Again, it does not look like we're going to be getting any effects on this, looking all the way around it. And it's a little heavier. All the weight's towards the bottom of it. Just basically from here down is where all the weight's located at. So it might have a nice little tube in there with all the weight and composition towards the bottom of it. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to move on to the next fountain that we got in here. Next, we got the Juicy Fruit. Another one kind of identical to that Sunrise Daydream that we just went over, just a different color. Unfortunately, again, absolutely no description on this. So I'm not really sure what we're going to get out of any of these. I chose to kind of skip the effects on the back of the box, and I might actually be regretting that. Next, we got the Whistle Spliffs, which is going to be our 100-shot missile battery or missile barrage or Saturn barrage. And you can definitely tell this is a clay mold. It's extremely heavy, but that's going to be just your normal Saturn battery. Up next, we're going to go to the Whistling Doobies, which is going to be the exact same thing. It's just these are going to be a 200-shot, probably going to be a little faster. Again, you can see we got that kind of clay molding right here, but that is just that. Again, just more Saturn barrages, pretty heavy. This is probably where most of the weight in this cake is coming from. It's probably going to be this one right here and that 100-shot we just pulled out, because these are really heavy. Up next, we have the Chem Dog 10-shot. And again, Red Apple, you kind of let me down on this. We don't have a duration. We don't have an actual effect or colors on these. But just looking at this is going to be a 3/4 bore inner diameter right there. So I think it might have some decent breaks, but it could probably do with a little bit more of a description on it. Let's go on to the next one. Up next, we got the Berry OG. It's a 10-shot. Believe it or not, even though this one is the exact same shot count as that Chem Dog, this is actually a little bit lighter. Again, no description. I do apologize about that. But let's go ahead. We're going to make this video pretty quick and jump into the next one. Next, we have the Shark Shock. This is a 7-shot cake. I would say this is a 200, but with as light as this is, I don't even know if this is going to classify as a 200. Again, this is another 3/4 inch inner diameter. And honestly, just grabbing this, you can kind of see that it wants to rock to the side. So it's heavier over on this side than it is over here. So that makes me wonder if this is actually going to be multiple shots in here, but they're just using a cake design from a 16 shot, but they're only filling it with 7. But I am actually curious about that. So give me a second. I'm going to cut this open, but we're going to see if there's actually 16 tubes in here with only 7 shots. All right, we got it open. As you see, half of this is foam, so that's why I wanted to keep rocking to one side. We have 8 tubes, but one of them is only filled with clay. I don't really like that, red apple. We're definitely going to have to take some points away from you on that. You could have just shoved an 8 shot right there, and it wouldn't have done a whole lot more to the price of this cake. Probably would have added maybe 50 cents to it. But I don't really like that design. Definitely probably the worst cake that I think I've seen in a red apple assortment so far, but nothing too major. Let's not hold it against them too hard, but let's also move to the next one. All right. Up next, we have Shark Bite, 7 shots. Again, 0 description, 0 colors, 0 duration. And I can tell you right now, this is going to be the exact same as that Shark Shot, where half of it is foam. We're going to have 8 tubes in here that are 3/4 of an inch, and one's going to be a clay fill. And that is going to be pretty much it. I mean, that's just identical. Not really liking this assortment as far as descriptions go, but it kind of is what it is, and we'll move on. We'll get a demo eventually in the future. Next, we got the Monkey Paw 16 shots. Just that little 16 shot cake in here. Again, 3/4 of an inch right there. Nothing too fancy. Well, let's move on. Up next, we're going to do 2 of these at a time just because everything in here is pretty much 0 description and I don't want to take up too much time. We got Trap Star and we got Canna, both 16 shots, both 3/4 inch inner diameter bores for the cakes themselves. A little bit of weight to them. I can definitely say these probably are the heavier cakes in here, but let's move on to some more. Up next, we got the Super Red Espresso Snowflake, a little 16 shot, 0 descriptions, just that. Let's move on. Moving on, we have Lifter and Blue Oyster, both of them 19 shots. Just looking at the top, I can tell that these are going to be 3/4 inch inner diameters in there. Both little circle cakes, but let's go ahead, move on to the next 19 shot that we have in here, and that's going to be the Scentsy Star. Nice little green cake, good little designs, everything's ganja related, but it's just that, another 3/4 inch, and then we'll move on over here, and then we will look at this fountain. It's a very big box fountain called Candy Apple, extremely light. I actually want to cut this thing open. I want to see what's in here because honestly, this feels like it's nothing but air. All right, so we got this thing open and it's 3 itty bitty, probably 1/2 inch tubes right there. I don't like this fountain at all. I don't like this design. I think you are robbing the consumer out of a lot of space in here. This space can be filled up with way more than a probably 6x4 inch box fountain. And since it was laying on the side, it's more along the line of a 6x5. So you're taking up a lot of space with this right here. I don't really like that. I hate to say it, Red Apple, will kind of shame on y'all for this one. I still absolutely have loved everything I've lit off. It's just I am not a big fan of huge box fountains that have basically nothing in them. Up next, we got the Shark Attack 7 shot, exact same thing as the rest of the 7 shots. We got foam from here over to the left, and then we got 8 tubes of 3/4 inch with the actual clay plug in one of them. But down here at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and look at all of these pretty much at the exact same time. And that is going to be the Gigabud, the White Widow, and the Rockstar Kush. No descriptions on here, unfortunately. Just that 16 shots, 3/4 inch. I almost forgot about these right here on this right side. We actually have a small little fountain right here. We got the Blackberry Fire, really light, no weight to it. And then we also have a rather heavy, believe it or not, 100 shot barrage candle called the Fatty. So a nice little play on words right there for the ganja. Nice little ground steak stabbed in, just like a normal barrage candle would be. But let's move on to these canister shells. All right, we got these canister shells out, and while I was pulling these out, I did manage to find this label. We got some numbers on here. It makes me wonder if these are descriptions. And if these are descriptions, then that pretty much lets me know that all these canister shells are probably going to be a rewrap, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure. I can't say that it is or isn't because unfortunately I can't read this. But like I said, these do have numbers on them, and it looks like it may actually be some sort of description. And there's also a date in here. So we got 2011. I'm assuming that might be some type of trademark date. So that kind of lets us know wherever this come from. Definitely was originally designed back in 2011. So let's hope and pray that these cans aren't actually just that, just another company stuff with Red Apple's name slapped on them. Let's go ahead, get these things open. All right, we got these open. As you can see, we actually have a fiberglass tube right here, about 12 inches long, and these are going to be our canisters. Now, these things are incredibly small, but at least these do have an effect on them. And if you actually look, we have a numbered effect right here. We also have the colors as well as the real effects. We got strobing and glittering, dandelions, bangs, and crackling, and then pretty much almost all the colors that we saw on the back of the box. So these are actually really small, 3 and about a quarter inch, I think is what they said. We're looking at about a 1.25 inch diameter right there, so pretty small. I think the biggest thing we can take out of this is they actually have a nice tube. Not sure how well these will perform. I hope they perform really well because, to be honest, the rest of this assortment is kind of a little bit of lackluster in my opinion. But let's go ahead, get everything shoved back into this box, and then we will kind of get a price comparison. All right, guys, we got everything back into the box, kinda. Unfortunately, it's a little harder to get it back in the box than it was to take it out. But we're gonna do the average real quick on what everything costs. I did count everything in here, and counting all the canisters as one item, we have a grand total of 25 items in here, and that is counting those snaps in there as well. I did get this during Black Friday for $150. So with that, that would make this average at $6 per item, and the current price is $209, and that would give an average of $8.40 per item. So either way I look at it, I'm not really pleased with a whole lot of the items in here averaging $6 even, except for those 16 shot cakes and the canisters. Everything else in here I don't really care for. Those 10 shots may be pretty good, but anything less than the 10s, especially, I think it's kind of high. None of the fountains seem like they're worth $8 or even $6 in my opinion. Those snaps definitely aren't worth that price. So honestly, if I were to have to say whether or not this is a good deal, if anybody's trying to go to Red Apple, I would probably pass up on this one. And if you're going to spend $200, just go spend the $200 on the ZBQ box because you get more items than this. The value's better, and almost everything in there is 10 shots or higher, and it has almost no filler. So, honest opinion, just by looking at this face value, I would probably pass this one up. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys are smashing that like and subscribe button. And as always, practice safe fireworks and have a blast.